Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, in parts of Oklahoma last night, we got a pretty interesting show here in terms of strong to severe storms. I'm going to pause this rather quick animation. I want you to watch the boundary sitting right in through here where the cumulus cloud field butts up against a surface boundary, and we see one single storm pop right here. Watch it. Ready? Right as the sun is setting. And as that storm erupted into the evening sky, its overshooting top and anvil produced a very long shadow as the sun was setting. Beautiful view here of that thunderstorm with some more dense upper level cloud cover here farther to the south. Well, of course, some folks were out chasing in Oklahoma, and we got a couple of neat views of this. This one from Steve Polly showing that solitary updraft rising near Winoka, Oklahoma, and producing what will eventually be a few hail reports and some heavy rain out of this system. And then as the sun was setting, Spencer Dant took this view from Kansas. So we're north of it now, and you can see the anvil cloud really spreading out in the off in the distance, and that's where that shadow was that we saw. Just a beautiful view here of a single supercell thunderstorm. Well, it did go on to produce a couple of reports of some hail in through here, including some large hail from a cell that was developing just to the south and west of it as well. But this is your storm reports from the day and yesterday. Now let's move down south here to parts of Louisiana, where in the overnight hours we saw some very heavy rainfall. And through early this morning, we saw south of New Orleans some of the storms finally pushing out into the Gulf. But it's just kind of neat to stop and look at this radar animation right in through here. We can actually see the back side or the north side of this squall line blasting through. Had a little bookend vortex, a little mesolow formed right in through there. So you can see that larger kind of, looks like someone curling up their arm to flex their muscle, right? That's what we typically see with these types of storms. Well, this looking back over the last 48 hours, this is our total accumulated precipitation map, and we've seen here quite a bit of heavy rainfall out of some of those individual storm cells that have passed through parts of Oklahoma and Texas, but the heaviest rain has been down here. For parts of the southeast, we have now gone several days without rainfall. And some of the big questions that loom in this video here is to discuss when rain does pull through this area, what will be happening with the thunderstorms moving here between Cuba and Florida as they become a tropical system, potentially in this area before moving on along the shore. And then will we be getting more precip back in through here where we're dealing with drought? We're going to take a look at that latest drought monitor here in just a few moments, okay? So first thing on the tropics, the National Hurricane Center is now giving this one an 80% chance of developing, which would again get the name Arthur should it do that after it passes through the Bahamas. Our cyclone genesis tracks, in other words, if we're going to watch where the low pressure systems are going to form. Right now the European model wants to keep the majority of this offshore, but there's a couple of things here as we watch this particular system eject that we need to pay close attention to, because some of its moisture, okay, just some of its moisture may get pulled back into an upper level low that's going to be forming in this area. Not the system, but some of its moisture getting pulled back into that area. We're going to keep a close eye too on a low pressure of the system that's going to be kind of pulling from Texas through Louisiana. It's not tropical in nature, but it's just where we're going to be keeping a close eye on lower atmospheric pressure. So what I want to play for you here is an animation from the operational European. So this is not the ensemble here. This is just going to take us out through the next 10 days to be watching our troughs and ridges, because I think there's a pretty cool pattern evolving here. As we start things off, here's what we're watching. There's a trough here pulling through the mid part of the country. There's the trough that's in Texas. This is going to be the culprit for the unsettled weather over the beginning of the weekend here from Texas over to Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. So we're going to watch that one. Here is the upper level dip in the heights over the tropical system or subtropical system that we'll be developing here. Again, could be called Arthur. Now what we see as we work our way through the weekend is this will be the slow moving trough that keeps things unsettled here. But as we watch farther out into the forecast, watch this. These two troughs end up merging as our tropical system ejects quickly out here into the open Atlantic. See it? Just zips on out there. There it is. And what we end up developing here by Tuesday into Wednesday is this omega pattern. Now, sometimes when we see omega patterns, we start to get concerned that the atmosphere is going to end up getting blocked up. And that's because with an omega pattern, the jet stream flow tends to be highly amplified. It has a lot more meridional component to it. In other words, north-south rather than straight west to east. And when we start to see that, those patterns tend to slow down, and it allows troughs at times even to retrograde or move back to the west. Technically, a block means that the pattern pattern has to be there for at least 7 to 10 days. And while this one slows the whole pattern down from the middle of the week all the way to the end of the week, it is technically not a block, as it does kind of eject out here by the time we get to next weekend. So we're going to watch it carefully, because with that trough in place, this is going to bring quite a bit of heavy rainfall to the mid-Atlantic, pulling in some moisture from that tropical system that left. Cooler weather here with much warmer weather just to the west of it and through that area. Also, with the new troughs developing here toward the end of the week, this is going to make things unsettled in the high plains, which could bring widespread scattered storms to the south as well. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to play out for you a sliding 24-hour window of precipitation. So here we are working through our weekend, getting now into early next week. So this is now, here we are into Monday. And as we pull through the day on Monday into Tuesday, Wednesday, and eventually into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you saw all those pieces I just discussed come together. Now we'll take a look at total accumulated precipitation in just a few moments, but I want to walk you through where our severe weather threat is first. In the day today, on the 15th, we are going to be watching this area here as the first upper level low begins to sweep through that region, destabilizing the atmosphere. As we talked about, that threat on the day on Saturday moves over toward the lower Mississippi River Valley out of Texas, and it's just going to be slow moving across this area through the rest of our weekend. But the greatest threat, I think, for severe weather would likely be today, again, back in parts of Oklahoma and Texas. All right. From there, let's watch the European model play this one on out. So let's go ahead and click play. We'll pause it here and bring you back. So when are we going to get rain in the southeast? Well, we got to wait for that slow mover to finally get over there. So let's take a look at it. Friday midday, getting into the evening hours here, and then into the overnight hours on Friday into Saturday morning. Again, it's going to be this area that's most unsettled, with much of our southeast staying dry. There's our tropical system there. You can see the low pressure cell now finally north of the Bahamas. As we go from Saturday into Saturday afternoon and evening, getting into the early morning hours on Sunday, not much movement overall here. Maybe some scattered showers right along the coasts of the Carolinas, but still relatively dry through the weekend over the southeast. As we let this play forward, that's where that first low really shows up over Louisiana in the overnight hours on Sunday into Monday. And then that slowly just pulls forward by the time we get into Monday night and then eventually into Tuesday morning. If there is a chance at some widely scattered but relatively light total amounts of precipitation here through parts of the southeast, it will be coming in the overnight hours on Monday into early Tuesday morning. Now, as we work our way through the day on Tuesday, we can see scattered showers and storms down here for parts of Florida, which would be welcomed. But high pressure builds in behind this, and this is when our pattern goes over to that omega block. So here's the high pressure cell. There is one trough here and the second trough sitting there. Now remember, our tropical feature is gone. It's out. This is upper level low right here. And it sits and spins and brings rainfall into the mid-Atlantic and parts of the Carolinas. Meanwhile, the rest of the south goes over on the drier side of things. We see that as we press through the end of next week, the operational models right now are keeping it dry through next weekend, as that omega pattern, tries to block things up for a little bit of time. So putting it all together, this is just what the European model is saying from this morning on Friday all the way through next Friday morning. And in general, what would we notice? Well, over here, amounts are relatively light, 1/4 of an inch with some locations, maybe with some heavier thunderstorms getting upwards of 3/4 of an inch, but not much rainfall. The heaviest corridor of rainfall is right in through here, where we're going to see today and tomorrow our best chances of the strong to severe storms. But take a look here on the backside. In fact, let's look at it another way. This is precipitation over the next week compared to normal. We do see that there's only a few places in our southern region that are showing up wetter than average, and that includes parts of Florida, which is good because of the drought situation there, and also that eastern Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi region. So when I think about this, it's got me thinking about drought, because we did finally see in the latest drought monitor expansion into this area. And there's some concern, which is why that's black and outlined, that that's going to last for a little while. And so again, I told you, watch this over the next few weeks. If it continues to expand through May, that increases our chances of having it, continue to expand through the rest of summer, which is one thing that we're concerned about. What about week 2? I have the GFS, which in my opinion has been a better performer in week 2, even though I thought earlier in the week it was off. It's not been. It's been doing fine. Here's the European. We can see both models do want to keep into week 2 some drier conditions here, but as the upper level trough pulls into this area, it could be drawing moisture up and around it, and we see that here in both models overall. Now, again, the questions loom. How much rainfall do we actually get in here? Is it the drought-busting type? At this stage, I would say no, that it's not, but at least it's not going over to extreme dryness just yet. We'll watch it carefully. Temperatures, as we get toward the end of this video here, let's just watch our high temperatures each day this week. So starting us off here on Friday, working into the day on Saturday. Overall, we see a lot of 70s and 80s across the southern region here. A little bit hotter than normal down in parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and then through Texas, where the rain is going to be on Saturday into Sunday. That's why we got the cooler weather here. Well, cooler compared to average. From Sunday into Monday, our high temperatures, remember at this point, we're going to be watching this area for unsettled weather, working our way into Monday, so that's why we got some cooler conditions here, but the southeast staying hotter and drier as we progress until Tuesday and into Wednesday. That's when we start to see the cool down relatively here compared to normal with the increased chances of clouds and storms. Now you do notice that on Wednesday, where that upper level low is, see the cooler weather in the mid-Atlantic? As we play this on out to next Thursday, that really establishes there while the heat rebuilds on the back side of it. We can see that by just exclusively looking at the day 5 through 10 time period, where that low is spinning in through here, okay? Cloud cover, cooler weather deeper in the trough extends here, while the heat is on the back side. Both models now picking up on that. Very clear signal here, day 5 through 10. And as we look out farther, the European has slowly backed off on the cooler weather here and come much more into alignment with the GFS. The GFS is still keeping this area, though, if you just look in the middle of the country, over on the warmer side of things, whereas the European finally moderated back to normal. But why we see cooler weather in through here? Primarily just due to transport of moisture and the potential for showers and storms as we see those troughs sweep through the northern plains. Last graphic I want to show you, we've been watching this every Tuesday and Thursday looking for any sort of a shift in the longer term forecast. But the latest, which came out last night from the European, this is May 25th through June 25th, continues to want to keep a broad section right in here in the middle part of the country wet. So this is my biggest unknown. Where does that drought go from here when the models are calling for it to be so wet? And do we in fact continue to keep dry along our southern coast? That is the questions we're going to have to try to answer and watch carefully in the forecast model evolution here, okay? With that, I hope you all have a great weekend. I'll talk to you again on Monday morning. Have a good one. Thank you.